Content warning. This podcast discusses violence, murder, suicide, civil unrest, aggressive policing, racism, and lynching. If you or anyone you know is considering suicide or self-harm, or just need to talk about problems, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255 or text the crisis text line at 741-741. Previously, on After the Uprising.
They feel like we don't appreciate law enforcement here. Therefore, it has an adverse effect of certain cops not being as diligent when it comes to straight up and down police work.
Why? Okay, why the fuck are you grabbing her like an animal? Like, seriously, that's fucking crazy.
Lost Voices was the heart and soul of the resistance. You can't talk about Ferguson without talking about the Lost Voices, and that's just real talk.
He said, "Mom, you wash my clothes."
I saw him leave out the door last night because I was sitting in the kitchen.
Do you know about what time that was?
About 9 o'clock.
Got in his car and drove off, or?
No, he didn't leave in the car. That was the thing as well. His car was down. The whole week his car was down.
I found using the equation and the rigor mortis stats that it probably was about a 3.5 hour time frame from when he was found.
So you're putting that roughly at about 4:30 a.m.
Yes.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
What you're looking at is the aftermath of the grand jury deciding not to indict Officer Wilson.
A young man found hanging from a tree in October. His mom believes someone murdered her son, targeting him.
Danyé became an activist in the wake of the shooting death of Michael Brown by a white police officer.
That's why Melissa McInnes wants St. Louis County Police to dig deeper into her son's death.
He was not suicidal.
This is After the Uprising, the death of Danyé Dion Jones.
You understand where this would be problematic, right? I mean,
well, what is the concern exactly?
Can you see where an officer would be very troubled and concerned with being contacted on a personal number by an out-of-state area code, why a reasonable person would not answer that phone call, and then why a reasonable person would not necessarily text that unknown number back? And then why an officer would be very concerned when two strangers show up at his door on his day off on a holiday weekend without any warning.
This is Sergeant Benjamin Granda, the St. Louis County Police's representative to the media. We're having a conversation about why we approached the lead investigator in Danyé's case, Detective Timothy Anderer, at his home, which both he and Sergeant Granda seemed to think was way out of bounds. We wanted to be courteous because we hoped to get further comment from Granda about Danyé's case. Anderer had a St. Louis County PD squad car parked in his driveway, so it's not like he was hiding that he was a cop or that people couldn't see that a police officer lived at that house. But anyway.
There was also there was a business card provided by Officer Anderer, and that business card was to Sergeant Leslie F. Williams at the St. Louis airport. So the family was unable to provide us, for instance, with a direct number to Officer Anderer.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Anderer's been in that unit for years. He's got business cards. I seriously question the validity of whatever that statement is. It simply makes no sense. You know, I can't investigate a suicide properly without having open lines of communication with the family throughout the process. You have to do notifications, you have to do follow-ups. If it happened, it could have been an error, but I seriously question the validity of that ever happening.
Again, we've seen the business card. And for the record, we did try contacting Detective Anderer at his office, and we not only left him a message on his cell phone, but we texted him. Either way, we were still eager to talk to him, so we pressed on with the request through Sergeant Granda.
What would we need to do to work on, doing an interview in some form with Officer Anderer?
As a reasonable person, would you think that Officer Anderer would be interested in this after the way that he perceives he was treated?
I don't see how he was mistreated. We approached and we said who we were, and we offered him the opportunity to schedule an interview.
I'm not sure if
get off
there's
his
some
property,
kind of...
and then we immediately left. There's a possibility, though, that Officer Anderer might have said, hey, this is an important story, but I'm betting the family's giving you some bad information and you're getting it wrong. And let me tell you, my version of this. But I'm not going to do it now, but let's schedule something, right? And I will get back to you. But that didn't happen like that. It was sort of an immediately antagonistic thing, and I guess we were taken as, intruders.
I find it very inappropriate, and I'm not the affected officer. And I don't know, just this very conversation could be going better that we're having right now. I am trying to do my best to be patient and listen. We have been through the ringer as law enforcement in this region. Yeah. It is a safety concern.
But you know how this works. Like, if we only get the side of activists or certain people who may feel that there was not a full investigation done of Danyé Jones, and then we're not able to present our listeners with the police officers, their personalities, their feelings, what they experienced, what they saw, then what you've got these three-dimensional human beings that they empathize with on one side, and you don't get the three-dimensional human beings on the other side. So I don't want that, and I want to tell an accurate story. I'm very sorry that Officer Anderer was concerned about his safety as a result of our visit. We didn't see that coming. Maybe I don't think in my opinion, we don't come off as intimidating guys, but I understand that the knock at the door. I mean, I'd really like to set up a situation where we could get his experience of investigating this.
Well, you talk two sides of a story. This is not the police department against a family.
Agreed.
This call happened in June of 2019. Danyé had died over 8 months prior, and the St. Louis County Police still hadn't released their final report on his death. If it was such a slam-dunk case of suicide, it seemed strange to us that it would take so long to finish the paperwork. By not finishing the final report, the bedsheet used as ligature in Danyé's death remained locked up as evidence and could not be released to Melissa and her family for independent testing. Remember back in episode 1 when County PD spokesman Sergeant Sean McGuire told us that, though we didn't have a good timeline on it, he figured it would be a week to a month until the report would be finished? That was 6 months prior to this call. Almost every single week during that time period, we made a request to the records department to see if the report had been concluded. So now that we had Granda on the phone, we asked him why it hadn't been finished yet.
I believe that our report will be concluded in the near future.
Why is that still open? It's been 7.5 months.
Our detectives are very busy.
An associate of mine called in January, and we were told at the time that it would be wrapped up within a couple weeks. So do you think this will be done by the end of the summer or by the 1-year anniversary in October?
I don't know. It depends on the workload. Okay. If they get called out in 5 minutes to go work a new homicide or a new shooting or a new robbery, well, they have to stop what they're doing and they have to go work that new case the best that they can.
Though Granda insists that detectives keep open lines of communication with families and people relevant to their investigations, Anderer never reached out to Melissa or any member of Danyé's family to explain the DNA evidence his investigation had turned up. He only made one other attempt to reach out to Melissa, and what he actually did was send 2 officers to her house to have a conversation, which she describes like this.
You said a lieutenant and a sergeant showed up?
Yeah. They said, we would like to talk to you alone.
Yeah.
You know good and well I'm not going to talk to you alone. And I said, that won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The family's there. We have Anthony Shahid. My attorney was on the phone. She was like, so you all came over just to sit in front of them and tell them exactly what y'all told them the same day it happened. Why? And they were just sitting there. They wanted us to say something. And the whole time we just sat there like this. A room full of us just sitting there looking at them like this. So once it got awkwardly quiet, we said, crickets. Well, I guess we're going to leave now.
You heard from Anthony Shahid in episode 1. He is the activist who told us what great leaders both Darren Seals and Melissa were in the movement. He was at Melissa's house during this awkward meeting.
I remember being over there, but I made their ass wait because I wanted to make sure I got the attorney on the phone, but they came on in, and to get right to it, from all their research and all their investigation, this is what they came up with. Danyé had killed herself.
Do you remember them asking for, leads to why she was saying publicly she thought it was homicide?
I don't remember them being so deep on that.
Their stated purpose was to find out what her allegations were all about that she was making publicly. But what was your sense or memory of, what they seemed to be there for?
On some bullshit. That's the best way I can sum it up. They were strictly there to defend the police department. Their actions, they have done everything they possibly could. She was pissed.
Anthony remembers that the police basically came to defend their conclusion that Danyé had died by suicide. He also remembers that Melissa emphasized to them that she wanted the bedsheet that Danyé was hanged with.
She wanted his possession. And she wanted that sheet. That was one of the main things. If I can't remember nothing else, that she wanted that sheet.
In that meeting in the house, you remember her saying that to them? Or
Yes, yeah, I 100% remember that. She wanted that sheet.
We told Granda we were aware of the excessive force lawsuit against Detective Anderer.
It may not shock you that we've Googled Officer Anderer, so we're aware that an excessive force civil suit was put against him by a state rep because of events that happened at a mobile gas station in December 2014. Now, that suit began in 2016. The body cam audio of that came out a month after Danyé's death. What action, if any, or what look at the appropriateness of the comments that Officer Anderer made were conducted once that suit was filed as of 2016?
Well, it's our policy that we don't talk on pending litigation.
I heard it was just settled. Is there any chance we could talk in a week if that turns out to be the case?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Because, if there are suspicions about an investigation, obviously some of the words that were spoken on the body cam, we would love to give Officer Anderer a chance to kind of explain who he really is and not let audio from a body cam speak on his behalf.
So is this now evolving into a piece against a single individual?
Not at all, but you surely you would agree that if the family says they don't feel that there was an investigation that looks seriously at the alternate possibility that this was a homicide, and one of the lead detectives is Officer Anderer, and the only thing, well, we know he was given I believe a medal as a hero.
This is true. In 2012, before he was a detective, Officer Anderer was given the Life-Saving Award by the Chief of Police. While the specifics of the incident aren't available, the award is given to an officer who performs a life-saving measure where valor circumstances do not exist and the victim survived. The year before that, in 2011, Officer Anderer also got the Chief's Commendation, awarded by Police Chief Tim Fitch. And though we had no way to know it at the time of this conversation with Granda, before the end of 2019, yet another police chief, the outgoing John Belmar, would award Anderer another Chief's Commendation. So yeah, Detective Anderer's got some accolades on his record. And whatever else one could say about him, his police chief certainly seemed to think he was their kind of guy.
So we know there was that. The other thing that we basically know is that his audio was caught in this body cam audio circa December 2014, and then it came out via this excessive force suit. So those are like two facts lead in two very different directions, but it's impossible to look at what was a thorough investigation done into the possibility of homicide here. We're essentially forced to at least get an answer as to the context for those statements and the context for the career. So we're trying to get the full story.
Well, it seems to me that you've been working on this story for some time, and it's only hit our radar in the very, very recent past. So it seems to me like this story has already been written.
Oh,
that's what it seems to me. How many local media stories have you seen on this? I ask because our local media ran it for a day. In fact, one of them, I think, did it too, when Mom did a press conference of it. I had a few conversations, told them about the facts and circumstances, and it's been radio silence since. Regardless of what is put out on social media, the reputation of our department, of our investigators, and the medical examiner's office means something around here. Now, Twitter doesn't understand all that, but
Right.
there's a reason that hasn't been at the 10 o'clock news every night. Can you try to look through this from my perspective? If you've been working on this since last year, in my mind, this story was written before you came here, well before you knocked on that door, well before this conversation that we're having.
Our relationship with St. Louis County Police would never improve from here. We would never be granted an interview with Anderer, and maybe that's on us. But we made the effort, repeatedly. Something that Granda wanted us to take away was that relations between St. Louis County PD and the citizens of St. Louis County were not nearly as bad as perhaps outsiders might expect.
In a nutshell, we went through a very challenging time. We got through it, and we emerged better on the other side. Were we perfect in 2014? No. Are we perfect today? No. But I think we're a lot better. There's not, from what I have seen, this big confrontational relationship between us and the people that we serve. You might be shocked that if you get off social media and you just walk around in a police uniform, how supportive people are, even in areas that you wouldn't think. We've got great relationships with many people of all socioeconomic backgrounds that live in all kinds of zip codes here.
Hearing Sergeant Granda say this, we cannot help but see the conflict between his words and what Tef Poe told us back in episode 1 about how it's customary for young black men to avoid being 4 or 5 deep in a car at night in St. Louis County because they know it will mean that they're getting pulled over. We are also reminded of a story that Danyé's younger brother, Javon, told us about an incident that occurred only a few weeks after Danyé's death.
They first was across the street at the Advanced Auto. In my car, it was easy to spot out. It's like bright blue headlights on the front. So I pull into the Pizza Hut parking lot, park to go and pick up my pizza. I come back out. They're surrounding my car. They said that it was a car robbery or jacking. They wanted to make sure this wasn't the car. Then they was asking me who's the primary custody holder, your son.
So they knew you had a son.
Yeah. Then they asked me, did I figure out who killed my brother?
These officers knew exactly who Javon was. They knew he was currently going through a custody battle with the mother of his son, which they must have gleaned from looking at his Facebook page or perhaps from a database of court proceedings. And they knew that his mother, Melissa, had been claiming online that Danyé had been murdered.
Were they snickering and laughing at you when they did this, or?
No, I thought they were trying to plant something on me because right in front of my car, there was a fresh knife sitting right there. And then they was like, what's this right here?
Yeah.
I said, that's not mine, you just kicked it.
Were these all,
St. Louis County.
all uniformed, no plain clothes?
Mm-hmm. All of them uniform.
Okay.
It is what it is.
What would Granda have to say about an interaction like this, where officers are apparently harassing the brother of a young man who had just died, seemingly mocking his family, while also bringing up his child in an ominous way?
With the police report into Danyé's death still not available, we kept digging into what leads we could. Of primary concern was who Danyé intended to meet up with the last night he was alive.
Did he seem excited about going out that night? Did it seem like it was something he...
Danny said he did. My brother, he said he did. He got his little overnight bag, and I wish that I had asked him who he was leaving with.
So it's like Laretha or Dasha, right?
Were
Is
you-
there any third person that pops into your mind that you would have been planning to go see?
Late nights is more of a Deja thing.
He had an overnight bag with clothes he had asked his mom to wash, which made Melissa presume he was likely going to see a young woman, because Danyé had highlighted that he needed clean underwear. At this time in Danyé's life, there were 2 young women who were the most likely candidates as to whom he was going to meet on his last night alive: Laretha and Dasha. Laretha was Danyé's ex-girlfriend that we mentioned in episode 3 when we talked about positive things he had going in his life. Laretha was the ex who Danyé had reconnected with via text on October 15th. That's 2 days before he died. He had sent her a long love poem, and then they started chatting, and she asked him if he would like to go to a restaurant with her that weekend. Apparently, at one point when they were dating, she had gotten pregnant, and Danyé had spoken to his sister Militia about picking out a ring for Laretha.
And he was excited. He was like, sis, I think she the one. And he was like, when you come back, I need your help picking out a ring. So I'm like, okay, I'm excited and stuff. And then after a while, they kind of break up, get back together, and on and off. And so I didn't hear too much about the ring after that. But she asked me about it. She was like, hey, did Danyé say anything about give me a ring? I didn't answer it because I'm like, I don't know if it was going to be a surprise.
She asked you.
She asked me because
Okay.
he must have said something like, oh, I'm going to marry you and all this and that.
How much did you talk to Laretha?
I talked to her off and on before he passed, but after he passed, I kind of was rude to her. I just didn't know what was going on, who was responsible. And I don't know. She was sweet. I just don't know her.
It took a long time for us to get in touch with Laretha, but when we finally did, it was via email, and when she responded to us, she said she did not wish to be part of this podcast, but she did go on to say several things about her relationship with Danyé, most of which were not positive. We shared the contents of that email with Melissa and Militia.
We did get in touch with Laretha one time via email. I can read it out loud to you. It's not super long, or you can come look at it if you'd like. But basically, she said she dated him. He didn't contribute anything when he lived with me. I tried to be a blessing to him. I did not enjoy his lifestyle, so I moved. He kept trying to threaten me. He was dating other people while he was dating me.
She told us that he was a hard actor. He's going to be a hard actor father.
She's real pretty and classy, but something's not right with her. Something is not right with her.
The email seemed a bit odd to us as well, for two reasons. Now, we didn't know Laretha, but she wrote in the email that Melissa and Danyé were involved in a retaliation against the police, which she broadly did not support. This is how she seemed to characterize the entire Ferguson movement. But beyond that, knowing only a day before Danyé died that Laretha was asking if Danyé wanted to meet up for dinner that weekend, it was weird that she spoke as if she just wanted nothing to do with him. Laretha didn't specifically say that she met with or planned to meet with Danyé the night he died, which was what we were primarily interested in. For the time being, we would have to take the fact that she didn't say anything about Danyé's last night as an inference, that it was not her that he set out to meet. The other young woman, Dasha, was also an ex-girlfriend of Danyé's, but they had retained a friendship. Melissa and Militia told us about Dasha, and let's just say they both have some strong opinions about her.
She's trifling.
She's a setup artist. She's a setup artist, too. I don't know if you...
Well, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah,
So.
I would get calls like, that Dasha, she done got me for some more money. And I'm not just one, probably like 5 different people.
Very shady. Very shady. I don't care. I would never respect her.
Dasha Jones, obviously no relation to Danyé, was actually one of the founding members of Lost Voices. Remember episode 2, when a young woman in a red sweatshirt is arrested at a Lost Voices tent encampment by 2 officers who carried her off as though she was hogtied? That was Dasha. And when Melissa was in court and cleared of her charges in the Chris Schaefer case, and Danyé was sitting next to a young woman before getting up to hug his mom, that was Dasha, who was in court that day coincidentally to deal with her own charges. According to Militia, when Danyé started dating Dasha a few years before he died, things in his life just started going downhill.
Danyé had a nice apartment in Hazelwood. He had a car. He had a nice shop. He didn't smoke at all. He didn't smoke weed at all. So when he started dealing with her, he lost everything. Everything.
It was so hard to get Danyé out of the house. He would only go out to show his properties. That was it. Like, he really didn't get out.
Like you told me before, like one
Damon.
like
Yes.
true best friend. It says
No, Damon.
But this Damon guy.
Yes.
And did he go out and hang out with him?
No.
Damon come over here?
Yes.
Yeah.
But Damon hardly ever, like, before this happened, like, Danyé was not getting out at all.
Was this like a weird irregular period where all of a sudden he was just staying home alone? Or was he always like that?
No, that was just recent.
Okay.
That whole week was just off.
And like
so
we
he
said,
had a new period where all of a sudden he just didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
If he did leave somewhere, he was outside in the car with that girl. He was outside in that car with that girl. And he's not the type of person that talk to a lot of females or leave out with them, but he know I didn't like her. So it was just strange how he didn't want to leave nowhere, but
She's the one that knew his password to his phone. She was over here. And this is me speculating. She found those messages that he was writing to his ex.
According to Danyé's family, in the week or so preceding his death, Danyé didn't leave the house unless it was to go show one of the properties he was trying to sell. And we'll get into his real estate business in a future episode. It's important to stop and note this, as some people may take this as a sign of depression, which is possible. But we think it is equally important to remember that Danyé's car wasn't working that last week, meaning that even when he went to show properties, he had to borrow a car. This may have been one reason he wasn't leaving as much. Or he may have been avoiding somebody. Then, according to Melissa, Danyé was very focused on studying the world of real estate. So when he was at home, he'd been spending most of his time watching videos or reading books in the basement, where he had his room. One of the lone exceptions to this period of staying at home was that he would hang out with Dasha, though this usually just meant sitting in a car parked out front, talking and sometimes smoking pot.
I stay far. I stop by her every once in a while. It's nighttime. I walk past the car. I hear his voice talking about, "What's up, sis?" Whatever. So I'm trying to see who want to package aside. I see who it is, and I'm like, I love my brother, but I was like, And she was like, "It's your brother, girl." And I'm like, "What's up, bro?" So went in the house, and they was just smoking, whatever.
Getting in touch with Dasha was going to be critical. If she was one of the few people that Danyé would break away to hang out with, and if they usually met up at night, it was very possible that she was the person he set out to see on the night of the 16th. And Melissa believes that Dasha had Danyé's passcode to his phone, and she speculates that Dasha became upset when she saw the texts that Danyé was sending to Laretha. Finding her contact information took some creative problem solving, but after some sleuthing, we were able to come up with her cell phone number. When we finally called, we weren't sure what to expect after all of the things that Melissa and Melisha had told us about her.
Hello.
Hi, is this Dasha Jones?
Yes, this is her.
Hi, Dasha. My name is John Duffy, and I'm a journalist working on a story that's sort of about Ferguson and the history of activism and stuff like that. And I was hoping you'd be willing to talk to me, if not right now, at some point, about your time in Lost Voices and things like that.
Yes, I am definitely interested, but right now I am a little busy. So could you give me a call back, like, a little later?
Well, I think what might work better would be you just tell me what day and time works for you, and we'll arrange it around your schedule. It doesn't have to be today.
Okay.
Our first impression was that Dasha actually seemed really nice. We arranged a time to talk for a few days later. Your name comes up a lot. You're there sort of at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then so that's sort of where it all starts, and then it goes all the way up through now when several people who were activists have now died and things like that. I was kind of hoping to talk to you about a handful of these things and to kind of start at the beginning and see if you could tell me about your experience the day Mike Brown was shot, and then kind of go into how Lost Voices came together and what that was like for you.
I can remember the day exactly. I was actually going to my baby's father's house to get my daughter, and it was a whole bunch of commotion. I couldn't get in to the, on the street. So I'm like, what is going on? So I started to walk around. So I got to where everything was, and I was just like, oh my God. So I'm standing there seeing Michael Brown on the ground.
Dasha explained that she called her daughter's father and asked if their child could stay with him for the night. She stayed out with the crowds.
And so as the day kind of ended, kind of protested against them because they wouldn't get the body up. So that was like my first time ever protesting. So my first actual chant was for them to get him off the ground. There was a couple other people there that I didn't know at first. Like, we kind of like all were on the same page. We all kind of had the same mind frame. One day we just came to, I believe it was a old furniture store parking lot. We went there one day, we all met up, and we just started to have like little tents and tables and things for people that were walking through, because we were protesting nonstop on West Forest, like every day.
Dasha had the same frustrations as other Lost Voices activists, who felt that they helped to spur the wider movement that then left them and Ferguson behind.
I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of groups that like kind of blossomed up. If we were marching on West Forest, and like it was a lot of people taking credit for what we were doing, and they never ever even stood foot out on West Forest. So that was my issue. Like, a lot of people were getting a lot of attention, a lot of fame and things, I guess you could say, and they weren't even doing none of that stuff.
She told us that she missed activism and wanted to get back into it. So you want to get back into it?
Oh yes, definitely. It's no stopping. Like, my dad was killed by a police officer when I was younger. I was about 7. It's been in my blood, you know. The only reason why I stopped, like I said, because I did a couple months, like 3 or 4 months of jail time, and it wasn't fair to me, so I had to get back on my feet, had to, you know, things like that. But
so which arrest led to you having to do a couple of months?
So they were trying to basically charge me for some arson and stuff that happened a long while ago, and they finally found out that I wasn't even at the scene. So it just took them like 3 months to figure that out. But
so wait, were you sitting in jail the whole time awaiting trial?
Basically, they do activists very wrong. When they found out that you're protesting against their system that they built, they feel like, okay, well, we're going to do whatever we can to keep her in. So they, I guess, been heard about me a lot. I'm on their radar, and they were just like, okay, well, we're going to take the longest time ever to figure out if she's telling the truth or not. So I had my lawyer and things like that, but it was just my judge. My judge was very shitty. He wanted to do stuff when he wanted to do it. So
which municipality was it in?
I was in the county.
So St. Louis County.
St. Louis County, yeah. They are horrible. I had to pay so much money. It was just ridiculous. I mean, it's my daughter's 3rd birthday. I would never forget that. You know, things like that.
When did all that end?
Actually, it just ended. Like, it was still going on. Like, they tried to put me on papers and everything for that. Like, I just literally closed that case. Like, they was trying to charge me for a lot of things. Like, it was another incident that the Lost Voices had. A man, he had got his phone stolen or something. He was trying to come into one of our secret meetings, and he made up a whole ordeal. He had somebody beat him up, and it was just so crazy. And so they tried to charge me for the stealing of the phone, and what else? For assault. That's what it was.
Dasha is referring to the incident with Chris Schaefer that Melissa told us about back in episode 2. Chris was beaten up, if you remember, and Melissa, who actually was the one to return his phone, was charged with assaulting and robbing him. Apparently, according to Dasha, the county also tried to pin charges on her for that crime. Right after she told us this, Dasha had to jump off the phone.
Can you call me back in 5 minutes?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'll call you in 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, bye. When we called back in 5 minutes, Dasha didn't answer. She did respond to a text, though, and said we could set up another time to talk.
Hello?
Hey, is Dasha there?
No, Deja, is this John?
Yeah.
Deja locked up right now. I'm finna get her out today, though.
What happened?
She had a probation violation.
Well, shit. In our first conversation, we'd been chatting with Dasha about her background and her activism with Lost Voices. This was stuff we really wanted to know about, and it was pretty revealing to hear that all these years later, she was still dealing with the legal fallout from those original protest activities 5 years previous. It reminded us of what Darren Seals said in his video, about how nationally recognized Black Lives Matter activists were doing speaking gigs, while the people who were on the front lines in Ferguson, taking all the risks, they were still suffering. Were still trying to get their lives back in order. We never even got to talking with Dasha about Danyé in those first calls, so we never got to ask whether or not she saw him or planned to see him the night he died. And we had another question for her too, a big one. Since Danyé's death, no one in his family had been able to get into either of his cell phones. The phone he primarily used was his Android, and both Melissa and Melisha believed Dasha knew Danyé's passcode. So even if Dasha wasn't the person Danyé packed an overnight bag to go see the night he died, she might be able to help us unlock his phone, which very well could hold crucial clues regarding, well, everything. And now Dasha was back in jail. How long would it take for her to get out? And if she ever actually knew Danyé's passcode, would she still remember it? That's next time on After the Uprising.
After the Uprising is directed, produced, investigated, written, and reported by myself, Raino Vyshelsky, and John Duffy. John Duffy was also the editor. Dave Cassidy was producer. Sound engineering, design, and mix by Josh Condon. Executive producers were Matt McDonough and Tina Exeros for Now This, Brett Kushner for Group 9 Media, and Jess Borave was executive in charge of production. Jonathan Hartwig and Bradley Rayford were consulting producers. Eliza Craig was assistant producer and did additional reporting. Mallory Kenoy was a writer's assistant. Kristen McVicker and Taya Wilson were production assistants, and Haley Klesmer was a post-production assistant. Fact-checking by Allison Humes. Theme song and other music by Zachary Walter. Legal by Keith Sklar and Peter Yazzie. Special thanks to Ann Frotto, Danny Gonzalez, Barbara Koppel, Alex Lester, Beth Ann Macaluso, Emily Marinoff, Ruth Vaca, and the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press. After the Uprising is a production of Double Asterisk, iHeartMedia, and Now This in association with True Stories. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook. If you have useful information about the death of Danyé Jones or anything we've covered, please leave a message on our tip line at 347-674-7401.